All right, welcome to the warm-up. It's me, Wizzy, with my main man, Jeff Power, and we are talking Week 6 of the Houston high school football scene after a wild Week 5 where we saw a Atascocita team give up 70 points in a game, which I don't know if you expected to see that, but I certainly did.
No way.
And then, of course,
Did not.
That thriller between Randall and Iowa Colony that you previewed, it was just as great as you had previewed it last week. So let's see what kind of games we can preview for you this week as we go into the lineup. Let's start with a rivalry game. It's always great to have these rivalry games up the top, and it's our game of the week. It's Pearland against Pearland Dawson. Tell me what you think of this one. You know, they call the place the Rig at Pearland.
Yeah.
Since Dawson's the home team, they call it the Nest. So this one's at the Nest.
That's funny. So the Pearland Oilers, they are 5-0. They looked amazing against Fulcher in Week 1. When I saw them earlier, that was over at Road Stadium in KDISD. You know, I feel like Pearland, they haven't been challenged since the Memorial game when they won 37-26. They've been averaging about 64 points a game ever since. BJ Gotte and his Oilers are coming off a huge win over Manville. That score surprised me, 66-14. Jake Westmoreland has 9 TD passes. Jordan Hernandez, Braxton Jones, Caleb Samuels. These are the receiving threats for Pearland. They're a wide open squad. You'll love their uniforms, too. They come out there looking like the old Texas A&M Aggies with the dual maroon stripes. It's a nice look. Keep an eye out for Jamari Champion. He's averaging 124 yards rushing per game, about 11 touchdowns on the ground. He'll remind you of old Bubba Bean running the ball from the Aggies back in the day. While we're going to throw that stuff out there. Roy Swan's another good running back for him. And Joseph Credit leads that defense. Keep an eye out for Pearland, though. They can strike from all over. Dawson, though, were you surprised they upset Shadow Creek?
Surprised.
I was.
It took them overtime, but they got it
Wow. 30-27. They're now 4-1, 3-0 in the district. The Eagles' one loss was to Bridgeland in Week 1 when they were playing catch-up and still had 223 yards passing, but only 92 on the ground. A week later, they got that fixed with 286 yards rushing against Elkins, and they've been very balanced ever since. Look at these numbers. 896 yard passing, 883 yards rushing in 5 games. That's what I call balance. Quarterback Luke Brown, he's got almost 700 yards passing and 5 TDs through the air. Corey Brown plus quarterback Luke have 231 yards rushing. So that's a pretty good little duo right there. Greg Early and Evan DeLucia also getting it done on the ground with close to 500 yards rushing. So the Nest will be definitely fired up and ready to go. I love it. The Nest, the Rig, whatever you have it'll be sold out.
It'll be some good stuff. And it'll leave our show off. And our second game is a 23-6A where the big dogs are playing each other now. Summer Creek's taking on Atascocita, and as you're going to tell us, Atascocita's in the danger zone right now with their loss last week.
They are. And, you know, Summer Creek, wow, they beat Channelview last week, 73-0. And, of course, it all started off with their win over Shadow Creek, 37-32 in Week 1. But then they beat Lamar, 58-14. They beat Spring, 78-0. That's a combined 209-14. So Summer Creek is number 1 in the area for a reason. Quarterback Noah Spinks gets it done through the air, 11 touchdown passes, 5 to Holden Miller. That's a great name, by the way. So is Benny Easter with his 4 touchdown catches as well. And Braylon Causey gets it done on the ground, about 72 yards rushing per game, 7 total TDs. So they're a very balanced attack. Also keep an eye out for Keyshawn Jackson, because I love his name, but he also gets a lot of touchdowns. And Atascocita, they're coming off that shootout loss to CE King, 70-55. I tell you, the Eagles' defense has been a little bit suspect, to say the least, lately, allowing a minimum of 28 points per game. That was 28 to Lamar, 32 to Katy, 35 to Westlake, and now 70 to King. And, you know, Deion Sims, of course, averaging about 217 yards per game. Maybe we give him a little credit there as far as King is concerned. But Atascocita, I think they'll be fine. They'll get it going on. They just got to get all their pieces back to the puzzle. Summer Creek will pretty much do the same thing that the last couple of teams have done against Atascocita, and that's score a lot of points.
Yeah, that's a hard team to get your defense straight against. It seems like Summer Creek. Finally, we move up to 13-6A, College Park at Willis. Willis wins this one. They pretty much have got a lock on 13-6A, so College Park is their last big test there, and they get them at home.
Well, I like College Park. They're coming off a 41-14 win over Grand Oaks. Julian Cromartie is the key on the ground. He's also a great receiving threat for CP with 6 touchdowns and close to 100 yards receiving per game. Brian Snodgrass, keep an eye on him. He's the tight end for College Park. I like what I saw when I went out there and saw them play Conroe. He's got 6 touchdowns, and Kalen Stevens has 5. Plus, Jordan Stiles is a big threat for them as well. But that 35-0 win over Conroe, keep an eye on that defense for College Park. They could do some damage against Willis, who, of course, they're back on track after that debacle against Klein Collins. Who's undefeated, by the way. Willis beat Cleveland 49-6. Then they had the impressive 42-30 win over the Woodlands the week before. And what can we say about Jermaine Bishop? I mean, he leads the team in rushing and receiving. Go figure. 54 yards on the ground, 124 through the air, 12 total touchdowns. And, of course, Lincoln Frazier's the guy getting him the ball through the air, 16 TD passes for him. So that could be a high-scoring game. Who knows? Caden Williams, though, he's a great tackling machine for Willis. Keep an eye on him. 13 tackles so far this season.
Get your best player of the ball. That's why he leads in rushing and receiving. Jermaine Bishop's definitely the best player. I had a chance to talk to B.J. Gotte earlier this week and talk about that rivalry game with Dawson, which now means for first place at 22-6A. Let's take a look at that as we go into our Media Day segment.
The Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive our award-winning products. Serving up the best treats and eats in Texas. Stop by DQ and treat yourself before and after the game.
I am joined by head coach B.J. Gotte of Pearland, and coach, guys, off to a great start. You talked off season about the leadership you had coming back, and obviously Westmoreland has shown it. Your receivers have shown it. You put up crazy points, but the big dogs are coming now in the district play. Do you feel like you've learned what you needed to learn so far early on in the season, get you ready for some of these tough district games?
We'll find out. That's what's good about it. Last week we played a good Manville team. Our kids played well. We had some breaks fall our way, so it kind of made it probably a little bit more lopsided than it should have been. But every week we're going to find out what we're made of, and it doesn't change this week with Dawson.
Talk about Dawson for a second, because obviously they're coming off a big win against Shadow Creek. We know it's a rivalry game. This is what, year 3 or 4 for you at Pearland. What is the atmosphere like when you walk out to the rig in a rivalry game like this, and now knowing that one of you guys will be in first place by yourself after it's over?
Yeah, fun environment. It's really cool. The community rallies around both teams, and they create a really cool atmosphere. So first time going into it in the current situation we're in, but it's a cool environment for the kids.
And we're talking defensively for you guys. Obviously, my eyes have been going to Joseph Credit this whole season. Tell me about him as a player and just the kind of plays he makes for you. We saw that from week 1. We had a camera at week 1, and he's just a fun guy to watch.
Yeah, work ethic's elite. He has a high football IQ, and it's because he's put the work in. Video, film study, and practice. He's a no-nonsense kid who works extremely hard, and it shows.
Well, this is going to be a fun one this week, and it's going to lead up to I hate saying this because it's halfway. I hate saying it's halfway mark, because I feel like we just started. I know you guys started way back in the off season, but for me, we just started halfway mark, and it's going to tell us about the tail end. Hopefully, this is a barometer for you. You feel like this is kind of going to be a kind of a barometer, because I know you got Shadow Creek down the road, a couple other ones, and then you guys start. You'll be a Division I team. That's it. That 6A Division I in Region 3 is absolutely no joke.
Yeah, no doubt. Dawson's well coached. They're well coached. They play hard. They've got, good schemes on both sides of the ball. They're solid. They're very good in special teams. They've got an excellent kicker, punter. So for us, it's just another challenge. And, after that we have Dobie, and then the week after that we got, Passing Memorial. Then we got Shadow Creek. So we're in the meat of our schedule. We'll find out, where we're at, and each week's a new challenge. And that's what I told the kids after Friday night was, You showed what you're capable of doing when you're clean in all three phases and you play disciplined football. But now you have to replicate it because, every week's different. So we got to turn the page and get focused on a really good Dawson team.
Well, it's going to be a fun situation. It's our game of the week this week. So I appreciate you joining us, Coach, and good luck the rest of this way.
Yes, well, no problem, man. Appreciate you covering us.
The Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive our award-winning products. Parker University. Check out our bachelor's degree in strength and human performance today.
And that gives us time to look at 3 more games as we go into the agenda. Another rivalry game kicking off the second set of games here, and it's the Motown Showdown.
Well, hey, I tell you what, that's going to be a lot of fun. My parents actually lived in Montgomery right over there by Lake Conroe, and I've never been to this game, so I'm actually really fired up to go check it out this Friday night. Montgomery coming off a big win over Dayton, 52-46 to improve to 3-1. And Ward, you and I have talked about Dayton being a pretty good team this year, so I was kind of surprised to see Montgomery take care of business in that game. They're averaging 49 points per contest. They beat Caney Creek and Elgin back-to-back, 48-0. And then they had their opening loss to Kingwood Park in a shootout, 47-41. Keep an eye out for Kedrid Ben. Averages about 151 yards per game on the ground. And their quarterback, Luke Pyro, he is a stud. About 80 yards passing per game. Hasn't always had to throw it so much. Might have to against Lake Creek, who's coming off a valiant effort against perennial powerhouse Port Neches Groves. They lost 45-21. But you know what surprised me? The week before, Lake Creek beat straight Jesuit and Johnny Hebert 30-28. That was a big win. That's their one win this year. They did fall to St. Thomas Catholic by a point, and Magnolia thumped them pretty good in week 1. But Cannon Davis is the man on the ground, about 152 yards for the Lions. Keep an eye out for him. They'll try to keep this scoring down low.
Well, it's hard to keep a 15-6A game off of our docket here, and there's another big one up in Tomball where Klein's taking on Tomball for, those 2 playoff teams this year.
Yeah, both teams with 1 loss. Klein coming off that 36-30 loss to Collins. We talked about that game coming in. I thought Collins could do what they did, which was kind of run the football, control the clock, control the game. And even though 36-30 seems high scoring, to keep Klein to 30 points is saying something. I'm telling you, Edward Kelly still averaging about 165 yards per game, but that did kind of surprise me. Tomball, they beat Magnolia West 48-7 last week. I saw Tomball against Klein Collins a couple weeks ago, and that was a thriller. In fact, to be honest, Tomball should have won it. They lost 35-34, and that's probably the toughest game I think Collins has had all year. Maybe that in this Klein game.
Well, let's go back to 23-6A to finish things out. North Shore against Kingwood. You talked about Sea Kings, Summer Creek, Atascocita. Mm-hmm. These 2 teams, there's 5 teams, and there's only 4 playoff spots, so there's must-win situations here right now.
Yeah, and North Shore, can we say they're quietly under the radar a bit this year? I mean, they beat Crowley, Westfield, and Humble after that tough loss to Sauk, and of course South Oak Cliff. I mean, perennial powerhouse. Come on. North Shore at 3-1. They are 5th in our poll for a reason. They are a great team, and I'm sure they will be just fine as the season goes on. Kingwood beat Goose Creek Memorial 42-15. Their 34-28 loss to LaPorte might be their most impressive game this year. I know you're thinking, well, that's a 5A school in LaPorte, but I'm telling you, LaPorte's really good this year. And I think Kingwood they've much improved this season. I think this game's going to be a tough battle, and it could go down to the 4th quarter.
Absolutely. You mentioned how North Shore was 5th last week in the coaches poll. Mm-hmm. They may have moved up a spot. We'll have to see. Okay. We're going into the coaches poll. We'll take a look at that as we end our segment here. Go catch a game. There's plenty of games to see. I know it's a bye week for a lot of the districts, but there's still plenty of games to see, and we hope we got yourself warmed up. Now let's take a look at the coaches poll as we end the show.